Had a few people ask me what I did to stop the oil leaking through the spindle on this Toolmaster 1D, and frankly, it's a chore. This is the power downfeed box. It's quite heavy, so it's hard to hold when you pull it off of this thing. It's 4 bolts, pull it off here, 2 here, 2 here. The problem is you got to remove everything from this part up. I put it on the jib crane and picked it up about this far. Then you can take off the phenolic gear that's up here, and then that shaft comes down. You have to pull it apart and down. This is the seal that I found fits for it. Got it at McMaster Car. I think it's like $5. And it fits inside around a approximately 3/4 inch shaft that goes through this head. And you got to be careful when you take that shaft out, because it's got a big spring in it that forces it this way. So you got to take that out, pry out the old seal, and then I turned down a little piece of brass to set the new seal when I put it in. When I get a chance, I'm going to put all this together in one big cohesive. It's a little seal, spring-loaded in the back, rubber, and I just made this so that it inserts it into the boss that's in there. I don't know how else you could insert that without having something similar to this, because it's kind of recessed. That's how you take care of that little problem. Well, now that we got that out of the way, I wanted to talk to you about a special lathe that's available for someone that would like to give it a good home. For years, I've been a member of the Practical Machinist Forum, a professional machinist forum. Don't go over there and start asking what a drill bit is, or some crusty old machinist will climb all over you, with the exception of one area. For years, there's been a South Bend lathe area. They don't let you talk about home machines, quote, quote, Craftsman lathes, and they want it to be industrial type machines. And for years, South Bend was industrial. They make some pretty big lathes. So they've allowed South Bend to be talked about, and that's become one of the main areas that you could talk about South Bend area on the internet. One of the moderators there is John Oder. Now, John kind of watches over the antique machinery forum there, and he is a fountain of knowledge about old machines of almost any type. John is retired. He's used to be a machinist, an engineer. He's worked on all kinds of oil field tooling machines. He's designed machines. Just kind of all around nice guy too. In fact, he helped me find this old planer when we were looking for one. He came up with a list of a lot of his friends that used to have planers back in the day. I called a lot of widows looking for this one. Anyway, on the Practical Machinist Forum, John has a thread concerning the lathe that we're talking about. He's spent 10 years rebuilding this machine. It was in terrible shape when he got it. The feet were broken off. He's replaced all of this and welded things up and made lots of new parts, ground a lot of shafts and things like that. But sadly, time's running out for John. John made a deal that when he was 80 or 82, he would sell his machine shop that was in the back of his home. He and his daughter built this thing. It's a 5-sided garage. Frankly, you got to be a skinny person to go visit him at. But anyway, he's now almost 82. He sold all the machinery to a certain young man that we first met when he came to a scraping class here about 7 years ago. The young man's finished college and now works at a machine shop as a foreman down south of here, a big place. And over the years, he has built a pretty nice machine shop. It's just cram-packed with big machinery. The bigger it is, the cheaper it is. Anyway, he called me and he said, would you like to have John's project lathe? And I would love to, but I don't have the room to store it or work on it time. It would never get finished here. I went down and I took some video, and I'm fixing to show you about it. John spent many hours documenting and taking pictures of what he's done to this lathe, and it's in a fascinating thread over on PM. I'll link it below. Please go read it. If nothing else, it's a great read. The machine is free. We're looking for somebody that can continue the work on it and finish it. The two caveats: they would like for you to promise not to scrap it if you take it. I mean, the guy said, heck, I can scrap it myself. There's a scrapyard 2 miles from here. But he didn't want that to happen, and neither do I. So if you think you can work on it, and you promise not to scrap it, and you can give it home, sure would be nice. Anyway, here's the lathe. If you think you want it, just send me an email, and we'll get together and talk about it. The email address is in my channel page, contact us information. So we don't know what year this is, do we?
Yeah, 1920.
1920, Greaves and Klugman. That John Oder of Practical Machinist fame had been rebuilding for 11 years. And I remember looking back to when these feet were repaired by him. He took pieces of metal and curved it in and welded it together to put it all back. He took the headstock apart, and it was pretty cracked up, if I remember right. And he welded it all back together.
The weld repair was done on the foot.
No, he also did up here.
Stuff in the headstock?
Yeah. It was, and I seem to remember him reboring it too.
No, he hadn't done that yet.
He hadn't?
The fixtures and everything were still being made.
But he repaired all the cracks. It was really cracked.
It was really bad.
Yeah. Anyway, John made a deal with someone that when he hit 80, 81, he's going to get rid of his shop so his wife wouldn't have to ever mess with it. And he followed through. And this is Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
Hi.
Can't see him, he's in shadow, it's so dark out here. Anyway, did you get all the stuff at the shop?
Pretty much everything in the shop I bought, yeah.
And I assume, knowing John Oder, that he did a good deal for you.
It was very mutually beneficial.
Ah, good. Well, you have a shop and a store. Anyway, let's finish this one up. Matthew doesn't have room for this. And he offered it to me, and I don't have room for it. So we're looking for a new home for it. John has got a huge detailed set of pictures and things of everything he's done for it over the years, and he's remade a lot of the parts for it. It just needs to be finished. And right now it's free for someone that has a place to put it and promises not to scrap it. Because we can scrap it.
Yeah, scrap miles, 3 miles down the road. I can get rid of it if I wanted to.
But we don't want that to happen. So if anybody's interested, he's got equipment to load it on your trailer. You know how much it weighs?
About 8,000 pounds, I think. Probably less with all the goods taken out of it.
Okay.
It's not too horribly heavy.
Do you have everything that would need to put it together?
So there's some parts, most of the parts are here, but there's still some parts that I got to move from John's.
Okay.
There's a pallet inside the shop full of a bunch of gears, shafts, that kind of stuff.
But it should be complete.
Complete, yes, but it's mostly samples of broken parts, bad bearings, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Everything's there, but it's not a put
Working,
it back together. It's
yeah.
Everything needs to be repaired project.
Okay. Well, you promised to at least give it a good home. He'll give it to you. And that's a heck of a deal. Matthew, tell us the story of your shop.
Well, it's kind of not what I wanted, but it's better than nothing. We were going to build a much bigger building at one time, but unfortunately my father passed away kind of in the middle of that process, so I had to build this building instead because I was unable to build the bigger building by myself.
Right.
And now I've got this building pretty much full, and I'm starting to get geared up to build that bigger building, so I need to start going through that old friction crane right there, looking for a man lift and the kind of stuff to do bigger
Building.
things.
Yeah.
So the next building is probably going to be about 150 by about 120. So we'll see how well it goes. It's probably going to take me 5 years to do it, but I'll get there.
Well, you're young. I met Matthew, what, 6 or 7 years ago?
Probably
or more than that.
More than that.
I think he was like 18.
Yeah, I just turned 18, so that would have been 7 years. Yeah. 7 years.
Well, you guys think I have the old iron bug? He got it too.
Yeah, we got a bunch of old farm equipment, construction equipment sitting outside. That old truck over there is something else that probably needs a new home. It's a 1969 F600. Over there's a lathe a buddy of mine gave me that's getting ready to go in the shop.
Which one? This one?
There. It's an old lodge and ship, but somebody converted into a welding lathe.
Huh.
So it's kind of ugly right now, but considering it's going to be doing welding, it's totally fine.
It's okay.
Yep. It's got some DC motors driving the headstock and the lead screw, and then it's got this big commutator over here for the welding current.
Okay. So it just goes right on through without.
Yep. And being a plain bearing machine, it's
okay.
It's okay.
What you got over there?
That's a 1954 5CK horizontal that probably needs a new home, but they're not very desirable machines, so I'm probably going to end up bringing it into the shop and fixing it. I bought that from government liquidation years and years ago. They set it outside. I had it inside, but I needed the space, so I set it back outside, considering it's not going to get any worse than it already is. And then I've got a vertical head inside the shop for that machine, which is very rare, but they're kind of, for the amount of space and power they take up, they're really not that great.
Economical.
That over there is going to be much better, that little HPM.
Oh yeah, that's what I need. So you're willing to sell that one there, or?
Problem is I've got too much money in that one really for anything. I'd like to at least break even, but
Okay.
I don't know, we'll see. I'm being realistic with my amount of floor space.
Well, you see, I've walked into your shop this morning and you're past realistic, sir.
Yeah.
You're going to need a bigger shop. Where did you find this one?
So that came out of a pump shop in Houston. A bunch of other machines actually that I got came out of that shop. This was sitting out in a parking lot that they had. It was sitting on a big chain sling, and they said, if you can move the machine, it's yours. So I moved it, and I got to keep the sling that it was sitting on, so I figured
Huh.
$2,000 piece of wood. No million was worth that. But it's a pretty neat machine, fairly rare setup in the U.S. to find. They're not very common machines. I mean, HBMs are common, but not this style of machine. It's got a built-in rotary table, line boring tailstock, boring and facing slide. It's set up to do threading, but it doesn't have any of the gears and all that other stuff. And I have no desire to thread on an HBM. So I'm gonna start going through it, and it may be in so bad condition that it gets knocked in the head, or maybe gets converted to a CNC, who knows. But again, it's another one that I got sitting outside for years and years and years, and it was in the shop and I needed the space, so I parked it out here for a little while.
Well, you moved all of John's shop into your space, so I can imagine. Love your forklift.
Yeah, that's one of the best purchases I've made.
Forklifts are nice. How big is that one?
That is a Heister H25H, so it's rated for about 25,000 pounds. And this is a 40-ton P&H, so it's redone.
So what are your plans for your shop?
A lot of it's to be determined. A lot of it's to be determined.
I mean, are you going to do repairs out of it, or?
But right now, it's just to fix all my projects.
Okay. Are you still going to school?
No. No, I graduated several years ago.
Well, you got a nice big place out here. All kinds of...
Yeah, if anybody that doesn't have one, I could highly recommend getting one of those.
Which one? What?
Hydraulic hose making machine.
Oh, over there? Yeah.
That is so handy. It's expensive, but it is very, very handy if you want to.
All set up, ready to roll. I went and worked on a ship up in Tulsa called the Seeker, and he ended up with one of those because he had so many hoses to make. It's unbelievable.
They're handy.
Have you got enough lathes? Really
Right, yeah.
big lathes?
Where did you get all of those?
So that one came out of the same pump shop that the horizontal mill came out of. They were consolidating shops, and they were replacing this machine with a larger one. And they let me know about it, and they said, you have till the end of the week to line up the trailer, or we're going to scrap it. So I bought a trailer just to move that machine, and it sat on that trailer for several years until I had a shop to put it in. But it's a pretty nice lathe. Definitely a very, very heavy machine.
A little bit of everything in here. More jig bore. Yep. And then you're working on this. This came out of John Older's, basically a 2-car garage, a little bit bigger. What was it, SIP?
No, it's Pratt & Whitney.
Pratt & Whitney.
Pratt & Whitney 3V.
Last time I saw this, John was making I think it was a wheel for like a Model T or something with little spokes. Looked like a bicycle hub. Only takes like 3 gallons up there.
Mm-hmm.
And how many did you put in?
A lot more than 3.
Oh, so you're the one that put the only takes 3 on there now. I walked in and he was running around like a Chinese fire girl trying to get oil. You've got a lot of nice machinery in here, sir.
Yeah, I've collected some junk over the years.
You've given it a good home. I know a man that has shaperitis. Told me he doesn't have any place for any more tools, but I happen to know better. And you got a planer.
40-inch between the rails, 10-foot table. It's got a milling head built onto it. It's got a DC drive to do milling work on the main table.
And how did they attach it to the? How does it do it attached to the table?
Just got
Gear or?
How does the motor attach?
Yes.
So
Chain drive or?
no, you got 2 motors. There's one main motor right there.
All right.
And then the not VFD, for the DC motor is right here, and it has just this smaller belt that goes to the shaft of the main motor, and then there's this little sliding tensioner, so you just tension up this motor when you want to do the milling work.
Okay.
And then it's got a little control unit right there, and then it just runs through there, across to the other side to the fast and loose pulleys, and then
Is it belt driven?
yes, it's not belt driven on the other side.
Okay.
It needs to be rewired, but I have it running.
Well, mine is a hydraulic ram planer, and I don't think it would do very well with a milling head on it, because
They're not made for real heavy milling. They're not made for milling at all, but it's one of those things that you can do it if you're careful.
I would think I would break too many bits. Just a little hiccup in the hydraulics and speed change, snap something off. But if I could figure a way to put a grinding head on it and be able to do coolant without contaminating the table, maybe that. Well, you have a fine assortment of machines. Got you some big. Is that a 6-footer?
Yeah, I think it's 6.
5. Well, thanks for showing us around. 36 inch.
Yeah.
The thing I love about my do-all is the dial. It tells you the surface speeds for everything. And I loved it when I was looking at it all, and it has an entry for meteorites. Cutting meteorites. Well, good deal. Maybe we come back in a year or so when you got everything running and